Today we're going to replace the AC condenser on this 2010 Ford Escape. It's been a really good car. It has performed well, taken a lot of punishment, and I recommend the Escape. However, I noticed the AC condenser on models between 2008 and 2014, I think, 2012, is failing. Lots and lots of failures, lots of replacements. So today we're going to put this in. I have a replacement AC condenser, $55. I have a Promax refrigerant recovery and purge system here. I bought used for $150. It's good for residential and automotive. So you can save yourself thousands of dollars. The dealership wanted $1,000 to do this job. Now, you have to ask yourself why a 9-year-old car here needs $1,000 condenser replacement while that 1963 Cadillac has a condenser on it that's still working after 64 years. Now, the dealership will tell you that a $55 condenser is cheap trash and will fail. I think differently. I think that the cheap trash was put on this car to begin with at the factory. So let's start taking off parts. Don't waste your time taking off the entire front bumper cover assembly. We're just going to take off the grille, which is real shiny plastic here. There's 3 bolts we'll remove, 10 millimeter here, 10 millimeter here to get this out of the way, and another 10 millimeter here. Once those 3 are off, we're going to work on 2 10 millimeter bolts. One here, one there. Take those off. Before releasing the plastic retainer clips on this grill, you'll need to remove the 2 very small 7.5 millimeter body bolts. For that, you're going to need an extension and a small universal. That's out, and do the same for the other side. Okay, those 2 are out. And last but not least, there are 3 plastic clips to release the front plastic grill. One in the center, one on the left, and one on the other side. To release these clips, you first push in on a little tab here, and then you pull up on the clip, and it releases. Like that. And we can pull away the grill. That's what the retainer tabs look like on the grill, and the little release tabs that you push forward at the middle. To remove the condenser, you have to release these 2 fittings that carry the refrigerant, the high side and the low side. There's a 10 millimeter bolt on one side, 10 millimeter bolt on the other, and then these two fittings here that carry the lines for transmission fluid. You want to release these lines here and the refrigerant lines on the other side first before removing these bolts. Now, to remove these clips, it really helps to have long needle nose pliers and long needle nose hose removers. To remove the refrigerant fittings, it makes it a lot easier if you remove the headlamp assembly. There's 3 bolts. Small 10mm bolt here, and another one here and there. Done. Next, to remove the refrigerant fittings, you'll need to take the headlamp assembly and wedge it out with a rolled up towel or some other object. You'll need a 13mm box end wrench, and you can remove these fittings. So pry them off one at a time with a flat tip screwdriver. There's the O-ring that you're going to replace. After you get the first one off, it's easier to get down to the second one. So then, pry off these 2 plastics, push them aside, here and here, goes there, push it over so you don't have any problems. Remove the last 2 bolts, 10mm and 10mm. They're both different lengths. Now the condenser is loose, and we can lift it free like that. So you can clearly see the damage on most of these condensers is where the automatic transmission cooler bracket joins the rest of the condenser assembly. It looks like they didn't design properly for maybe heat expansion or stress, but I think that's why all these condensers are going wrong. So let's go ahead and set up the new condenser. Remove the retaining bolts here. Leave the seals in until you install the lines. Install the studs. Go finger tight. Use vice grips if you don't have the exotic tool, the interior Allen key tool. So you can see that there are 2 supports. One here, they're hard rubber, and another one here on each side. The bottom of the condenser is intended to kind of rest on those two. It doesn't go into a slot, it just rests on them. The real support will come from your two 10mm bolts. So just to be on the safe side, let's examine and replace the O-rings. To replace them, you pry them off with a toothpick, not a piece of metal. Even a small scar on the mating surfaces of these O-rings can do a lot of damage. So we'll pry these off. So they're both the same size, and we'll replace them from our selection. So now we've got all the fasteners on, the hoses on, refrigerant lines in, everything's fine. And don't put the plastic back on yet. Wait until you pull the system down and charge it and make sure it works, make sure there's no problems, and go on from there.